Hey everybody, What Culture Wrestling's Adam Clery here, and welcome back to another exciting episode. Alright, yeah, so remember how last week there was like 3 men with a little digger outside and it was really annoying because he kept banging on the ground? Well, the 3 men and the digger are gone. But never mind that, I'm sure you won't be able to hear it at all. This week we're going to get straight... Alright, f*** this. Right, that's better. Okay, so, from my top secret What Culture filming location buried deep beneath the Earth's crust, these are all the ups and downs from this week's episode of NXT. Now we start off this week with a quite bizarre cold opening for, of all people, Kushida. He was already in the ring, and then Velveteen Dream comes out, and then Ciampa comes out and attacks him. And I'm not saying that somebody in production got their times mixed up so that Kushida had already come out and then they just panicked and just threw something together, but I am thinking that extremely loudly. Now, one of the major criticisms that has been levelled by people, and by people I mean me, at NXT, is that while they are quite happy to put their big stars in a ring together and give them the requisite time to put together something interesting, they are still too afraid to let them have a clean finish. It's always a roll-up or a distraction or something dumb. This thing is a plague on the main roster, and that has now trickled down to be like a tickly throat and a bit of a sneeze on NXT. So imagine my delight when I saw Kushida, a man who was in the midst of a push, taking on Tommaso Ciampa, one of the biggest names in the brand, and Velveteen Dream, somebody who, for reasons that escape me, they still seem very keen on. Imagine my surprise when that went to a clean finish with a German suplex, no less. Don't get me wrong, while the match itself was captivating in of its own right, it was all building up to nothing if they just bottled doing something interesting at the end. And while, yes, Ciampa did get hit with the cast, which kind of gives him an excuse for why he lost, that's not an interference, that's not a distraction, that's not a screw job, that's just something that happened in the match. Up. Look, the point is that clean wins push stories forward, whereas screwy finishes just keep everyone in a holding pattern, and nobody wants to tune in every single week to watch goddamn holding patterns. We cut to Undisputed Era backstage, and look, we'll get to all of this later on, but did anybody see this particular scene of them and just think of this from South Park? Because I did. Alright, next up is Ember versus Kamea, and 32 seconds. What are you on about, Adam? Yep, 32 seconds, that is the time between the bell ringing and all-conquering, unstoppable, returning force Ember Moon, who, remember, is coming in here to tear up the division and shake everything up, the time between the ring bell starting and her having to sell for a woman who has had 5 television matches ever, because WWE. Now, it'd be very easy for me to start laying into this match for the same reasons I lay into Toni Storm's match last week, as in, they didn't really seem to have any idea of how they were trying to present the character, and even if they had, she just kind of got beaten up by somebody she shouldn't get beaten up by and then stole a win. But that is all salvaged this week because of the showdown with Dakota Kai at the end. See, big stars in a new division should lead to new and exciting matchups, but at the same time having them walk back in and get straight into the title picture does a huge disservice to the job you've done booking the division thus far. Kai versus Moon is a far better match because it makes a lot more sense, and as a means to that particular end, this Kamea match did its job quite well, so up. No, I'm not going to do the hand thing. Alright, now here's a riddle for you. What happens when you take a heel who is in the midst of a quite sympathetic, dignified, in-defeat push and put him against an actual colossus babyface, but who has the frame and the moveset and the characteristics of a bad guy? These two contrasting forces that shouldn't really work anyway, but seem to be working. What happens when you collide them together? Well, you get a complete mess. See, Theory is quite interesting because despite how unlikable and obnoxious he is sort of like getting a bit of, I don't know, a bit of sympathy in all of this. Like, he's taken Dexter Lumis, Johnny Gargano, and Adam Cole to their limits, bona fide main eventers in this company. So he's starting to get a bit of support behind him gently while he's sort of demanding your respect. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but it has been interesting. But getting thoroughly jobbed out to Bronson Reed here, twice, with the second one being in around 13 seconds, and then quitting the company entirely, just undoes everything? Here you are, says NXT. Here lies a petulant, untalented dork who is a loser, despite the fact we've been telling you for the last couple of weeks you should receive him as a future star. What an enormous waste of everybody's time this has been, especially Austin Theory, so down. Like, I know some people might find that a bit harsh, but if he was gonna just go off in a huff after a load of losses, why did you have to put him with all the top guys? Like, this just seems, like, it's just confusing. And speaking of complete waste of everybody's time, we did have the slight concern that putting Swerve with Escobar again, just this time with some buddies, would get nothing accomplished that wasn't done in their singles matches. So imagine my complete shock that it's just another routine win for Escobar again. Don't get me wrong, the age-old NXT defensive, well, at least the match was entertaining, does hold true here, but that's because you've got so much talent between those 6 men in the ring. It was never not going to give something entertaining. But if you just take a step back from that and actually examine it a bit, it's kind of a bad thing for the Cruiserweight division. This, and by extension, both Santos and Swerve. There are other opponents, there are other challenges for this belt, there are other feuds they can be doing, and just showing us repeatedly that Santos can beat Swerve no matter what the circumstances are doesn't really do anything for either man. Like, they did kind of tease that maybe Atlas might be next in line, but why go down this route to do it? It was all just, again, a bit confusing, and it felt like everything they've accomplished up until this point didn't really matter all that much. So it's getting another down. I don't know what the Spanish for Groundhog Day is, but it is L applicable. Dia de la Marmota. There you go. I'm not going to spend too much time on it this week, but again, we've got another load of backstage segments with the Garganos, which are just really, really funny. Like, Johnny Gargano needs to not get imprisoned in this reality where it's all he does, yes, but also if I'm going to get everyone knows I hate wheels every single week, I'm kind of okay with it. So, not an up, but a thumb. Now, for anyone keeping track of this, the perfect next step in the Killian, Dain, Drake, Maverick storyline was for a routine, straightforward win where the reluctant member of the team finally realizes that he can achieve more with his new partner than he could without him, so begrudgingly shows some unity. That was the obvious next step. That was the perfect next step. It would have got an up if they just beat Everrise. But no, that's not what happened, because instead Drake finally got through to Dain by absolutely losing his goddamn mind. He was being goaded by Everrise, he saw red, he grabbed a chair, he mullered the pair of them, and they lost on a DQ finish. And that was the thing that got through to his partner. That's even better. Where's that been? As he says, as he grabs him and realizes that actually, do you know what? This team might be all right. Like, this is your atypical, friends become enemies who are enemies anyway and then become a tag team storyline. Yes, I get all of that, but it's been so entertaining so far. And all you have to do for the short lifespan this no doubt has is transition that entertainment into the tag team division in some capacity, and you're on a winner. And yes, all right, look, the match itself was nothing to get excited about, but as a story, it was absolutely excellent. So on that basis, it's getting another up. Hey there, is that Xia Li? Hey Xia, it's Brad from production. Yeah, how's it going? Yeah, okay, so look, you've got a match this week. We think we've been building this heel turn for a lot of months now. We think tonight is the night we're gonna pull the trigger. Yeah, it's exciting. Yeah. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna have you have a match with Casey Catanzaro. Yeah, it's going to be really exciting. Obviously, we'll build this for a few months. You've been on a losing streak. You really need to win. There's this simmering tension between you and her and Caden, and we've had Boa come in and add a bit of mystery, so we think tonight's the night that we finally pull the trigger. Yeah. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to really establish how you have to win. You really have to win this, okay? But then Casey's going to roll you up in the match and you're going to lose. Yeah, I know, right? So what you're going to do after the bell, we want you to attack Casey Catanzaro. Yeah, the heel turn, yeah. And then Caden's going to come in the ring, want you to hit her too. Yeah, then what we want you to do is bask in that for I think 3 seconds, maybe 5 if you really want to milk it. But then, then Raquel Gonzalez, she's going to come in and she's going to destroy all 3 of you. Yeah, really make you look like chumps. Yeah. After that, I think we'll go to a commercial and probably just not mention it again. Yeah, I think that's really gonna be, no, I hear, yeah. If you've got any questions, obviously that's too bad. Yeah, okay, cool, I'll see you tonight. Yeah, okay, tonight, bye. Yeah, okay, bye. I love this job. Is it really a good idea for NXT to be doing a storyline where a man runs a wrestling training school purely so he can take advantage and abuse his trainees? No. Regardless though, shout out to Anthony Green, or Andrew as he kept getting called during this segment, for making this way more interesting than I really think it had any right to be. Don't get me wrong, I have enjoyed this Thatch as Thatchcon stuff. It's different, it's interesting, it's getting Thatcher over as vicious and evil, even though he keeps losing in all the big matches. But this was the last one. For me, this was the last one they can do, and it'd still be good without just going, is this all you do now? So it's getting it up. But if you do it again next week, do it exactly the same, or do something like this again without giving Thatcher a good match which he can win in instead, it's going to get down. Again, I am enjoying these segments, but you have to realise that Timothy Thatcher is now a pro wrestler who is exclusively beating up peons who, you presume, are paying him for the privilege because it's his school. So, good, funny, ahaha, but I'd like to see him win a wrestling match against a wrestler, please. Hey, our main event of the evening now, and do you know what it is? The better the NXT tag team matches are, the more bittersweet the whole thing about the division becomes. Because Breezango versus Lorcan and Birch was, finish aside, not exactly a main event prospect, but certainly good enough that it makes you wonder, why aren't they doing stuff like this every single week? Now, just to collate in all the backstage segments that we had across the night, the mystery leading into this was that somebody had been attacking Bobby Fish and Roddy Strong, meaning they couldn't compete in the match, and Kyle O'Reilly himself, not medically cleared and understandably not wanting to go into a 2-on-1, just handed the opportunity to Lorcan and Birch. Very gracefully, very dignified, just said, look guys, we can't do it, you might as well, and so they got the opportunity instead, the TM Championship opportunity. But who could possibly be behind the mysterious attacks on the Undisputed Era? Let me see. Could it suspiciously be the group leader who has been absent this week? I think it could be. No, it actually wasn't, because after 15 minutes of incredibly slick and really hard-hitting professional wrestling that actually quite hurt, it turned out it was Pat McAfee, who... I didn't know how to react to this other than to feel incredibly stupid, because it's only been 2 months since that match with Adam Cole, and he didn't even cross my mind once to be this mystery attacker. Somehow he's just gone into a memory hole in mine and everyone else's mind, and it was great. So it gets an up, this, comprehensively, but I want to clarify why, because it's not about Pat McAfee coming back and taking on Adam Cole or taking on Kyle O'Reilly or Roderick Strong or Bobby Fish. It's not about anything to do with those four. It gets it up because of what it does for only Lorcan and Danny Birch, because here you've got two really good professional wrestlers who have got a unique gimmick in the way they approach the ring, but just can't talk. Like, they're never going to cut an interesting promo. Their feuds are never going to get anything elevated above just, oh, it'll be a good NXT match. And now you add Pat McAfee to them, a man who was a surprisingly good pro wrestler in the ring, but not exactly a brilliant pro wrestler in terms of all the technicals. But what did he do on the mic? He absolutely blew every single person away. So you take this piece of the puzzle and this piece of the puzzle, and you've low-key just gone and made something absolutely brilliant. In fact, whisper it, but if you just add one more person to this little group, you can just sort of hear the word "War Games" in the back of your mind. So, yeah, normally try and slide back into the middle, but I can't really hear. Yeah, there we go, that'll do. Welcome to the secret WhatCulture underground filming location, which, well, the building work apparently outside mine is going to go on for 152 weeks, which leaves us with just, I don't have a watch, 100 more weeks. So you might be seeing a lot more of this. Anyway, let us know what you made of NXT in the comments below. Of course, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Remember, hashtag on Thursdays, we wear yellow. These have been all the ups and downs from this week's episode of NXT. And I, Adam Clery, your favourite, will see you soon. Goodbye.